All right. So, Extraordinary Adventures Pirates. Uh, Glenn, I think I'm pretty much have the game set up, but you can walk them through some of the things that I did beforehand. I wasn't sure about the treasures. I'm not sure if you have any out before the game starts, but I put them in this little treasure chest for you
There
there.
you go. Yeah, so
Um,
the rules call for you to distribute treasures into a available pool, and you do three times the number of players plus one.
so let's say we're doing, for demonstration purposes, what would you say, 3 players just to
Okay.
demonstrate?
Then
Uh,
10 treasure tiles get dealt out, and that's the supply.
all right. So we're going to go ahead and put these out.
And while you're doing that, I just, I'm a history nerd too, and so I did a lot of fun research for the game. And
Okay.
each one of these treasures is named after a famous treasure and a pirate. They're all historical, with one exception. I don't know if you guys know Mark Streed.
I don't.
Mark, he's a one of the Dice Tower reviewers who does a lot of
Oh,
our
I said
preview.
I don't, but I just watched the review that he did for this video.
I threw in a little Easter egg for him, and Skinny Street is one of the there it is.
I see it right there.
Treasure is a little Easter egg, so added him.
That's awesome.
But all the rest of them are actually real pirates, and the names of where I could of actual treasures or the ships that they looted or the thing that they were famous for. So that's one of the historical things. The map is super historical, and
yeah, I can see that. Do you have basically yeah, the Caribbean.
and we had a map artist Jared Blando do the map itself, and then the Disney artist who did all the artwork in the game did all the individual towns and ports and merchant ships that are on the board. So it's a combination of a map artist and an illustrator to give the game that look, where it actually has kind of a unique look and feel for every part of the map, and all the places you're visiting. Even though that's not critical, we like that kind of stuff.
Of course, and it gives you, like, you get to see landscapes, like ideas of what the ports would look like. I love that. I love the zoom up on that too. Okay, so essentially, once the treasures are out, you have a pool of cargo chips that you have to put on each of the what would these be called? The merchant ships?
They're merchant ships. So basically, the layout of the board is there's 3 tracks through the Caribbean, and you're going to have a ship on each one of the tracks. Each player has a ship on each one of the tracks, and the idea is you're racing to get to the end, to get to Trinidad, where the Spanish treasure fleet is. That's the theme. And if you get there, as soon as any ship gets there, the game will end automatically.
Okay.
And you'll score. You see in the upper right where there's different scores for the number of players. You'll score based on your relative position on each of the 3 tracks. So you're really trying to, to race on all 3 simultaneously, or at least pick 2 that you can be competitive on. But meanwhile, you can also get a lot of those treasure points by looting merchant ships along the way. And in order to do that, you have to go off the track, and you can't move that ship anymore when you loot a merchant. So once you've landed on the merchant, if it still has cubes on it, you basically loot the merchant ship, get the cubes, and now you've got to decide if you're going to get back on the track and keep racing, or if you're going to go deeper off the track and visit a port.
Okay.
If you visit the port, you can cash in those cubes, those cargoes, for one of the treasures if you've got the right color combination.
Okay.
The second tier of that decision and the extra hook is not only are you doing that, but you're building your deck by doing that. So if you loot a merchant ship, you get a free draw off the merchant deck that will add a better quality card to your starting deck of 10.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show everybody some of the art here. So I'm as an example, we have the red player here, and I'm just going to go ahead and search through the deck here. And there are different cards that are available. These are your starting cards, and you'll see that there's a border around those starting cards to signify that the color of the player and everything. So in true deck building fashion, you have a core of 10 cards, right?
Yep.
And then you could build on top of that deck. I did read in the instructions that you can never go below 10 cards in the deck in case you're trying to remove your trash cards with the mechanic.
Yeah, we don't want to allow people to use that kind of old trick to streamline your deck down to basically one hand of cards where you're using the same cards over and over and over again.
Right.
It's kind of cheating.
But I'll just go through some of these art pieces, and you can sort of tell us about them. We have, I guess we'll start with the first one, the lubber, the land lubber.
So yeah, basically you'll start with the kind of a crappy crew. We the 10 cards. It's your deck, but it's also your crew on your ship. Yep. And every one of the cards will be a movement in the bottom right.
Okay.
Some of the more advanced cards will also have a special power that you could do instead of using the card for movement. So it's an either or, and that's another kind of tactical decision you make. You'll have 5 cards in your hand out of the 10, and you'll on your turn you'll play 3 of them. So very easy in the beginning because you don't have too many decisions. You're going to have most of these lubbers. You'll have a few of the number 2 valued cards, which are the able-bodied seamen. And he's okay. 2 it's an okay number, not anything too terrific. He's still a little pudgy,
a little out of shape. He's not climbing up and down the sails.
Right. And you'll have one guy who's actually knows what the heck's going on, and he's your sailing master's mate, and he can move 3, or you can use it to burn one of your lubbers out of your deck and get him out of there.
Great.
Either or.
And you know what? It just hit me, and I apologize. Chris's video is always up for me during the interview process, and I did not introduce him when we crashed the table. Chris Cornell, welcome. He's just creeping in the corner of the screen, probably on the Twitch stream. But
just right down in the bottom corner.
Did you have any questions for Glenn before we really took off on this?
Oh, plenty actually, but just been wanting to speak up the whole time and haven't been able to. And now that you've just completely ignored me, I kind of shut down and don't have any.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Chris.
But Glenn, it is very nice to meet you, and I absolutely cannot wait to meet you at PAX. Sid Meier's is one of my favorite games. The Civilization series. I've loved it forever, except for the new ones. I freaking hate the new ones. But and speaking of, I actually have a copy of the board game. It is the worst board game ever.
Well, luckily that's not the one I did.
Right.
Mine was pretty bad, but it's good to hear that one's also bad.
I can't. My buddy got it for me for my birthday, and we were all gung ho to play it. And then we started reading the rule book, and we're like, we are never gonna get through this ever. It was that bad. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I feel bad for my friends over at Fantasy Flight that happened.
Yeah. And I think, but again, I think what ended up happening there is again the over simulation.
Yes,
we wanted it to feel like Civilization, so we're going to do everything. The kitchen sink principle, like you said, let's throw it all in there, and then maybe the gamers will come up with the rules that'll fix it.
Right? It's awful, and I was guilty as sin on that one.
I would have to say though, I'd be willing. I've played about halfway through a game of this one, and I can't get through a full game with any of my friends or anything. So I'm like, it just sits on my shelf. I would love to play your copy of it because you actually know what the heck you're doing with it.
Yeah, you'd think that. Can't recommend that. Age of Empires 3 is kind of a Civ game in a sense. I would recommend that if you're going to play one of my games. That would actually be a good one.
Yeah, and that's the one that I was aiming for after I watched the videos and stuff on it too. But anything else, Chris, before we move on?
I noticed, I saw your the Rolling Con is what they're tagging it as on Twitter for the train trip down. So I saw that. I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. And before this interview here, I was even thinking, I need to get Matt. We need to actually do this because we played on a train a while ago, and it was a lot of fun just sitting there playing games.
Yeah, some of them left from Boston, I think yesterday, and they rolled into Chicago about 11 o'clock today.
That's awesome.
They've already been on the train for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, real quick, I'm going to call out anybody in chat with anything, Matt, before we move on. All right, cool. Again, thanks for everybody joining us, by the way, as well. I know I got sidetracked here because the awesome interview with Glenn early on, and he really he blew me away with everything about the game industry that he was involved in, and just I didn't even know what to do here. So now let's get back to his game. So we have our basic cards, and then this is the last one is the Sailing Master's Mate. And these are just the basic cards. So I'm the bottom right corner is movement. You said correct?
Yep.
So that's how many spaces I'll be able to move. Is it a hard line thing, or is that an up to thing? So can I move up to 3, or do I have to move 3 spaces with my ship?
No, you can certainly waste waste movement, but it's just not recommended.
Right. You should be budgeting it in a way that you're using it each and every time.
Yeah, the only thing you can't do is split. Like if you wanted to use the 3 card, you couldn't do one on one track and another on another track. You'd have to use all 3 on one ship.
Okay.
That's where you want to plan to use your 1s and 2s to kind of make sure you're landing perfectly if you can, not wasting too many points. Because really, as you build your deck and add better cards in there, the 1s still serve that purpose. If you want to move in and loot a merchant ship or move into a port, you can use your 1s and thereby get them out of your hand, because you don't want to have your hand clogged with a bunch of weak cards.
Right. So if you don't mind, Chris, do you want to grab 2 other colors and just put them here and here?
Sure.
So we could sort of demonstrate how this was going to work, and I'll take the red ships here. Now there's 3 tracks, but I have 4 ships. Is that correct?
Well, 1 is just sitting in front of you to designate your color.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So we'll just say red is here, and then we just put them. The starting tracks are going to be. Do you actually start in the port, or are you outside of the port?
You start in the port on the far west edge of the board. So, yep, St. Augustine, Havana, and Gran Granada.
Okay. And these are all custom meeples, ship meeples. Is there current? Oh, sorry, Gran Granada. Are there any? I didn't get a chance to take a look at the stretch goals, but what you see is what you get right now, except for that little treasure box I put on the table.
Well, the very first stretch goal was plastic injection molded ships, and they're sculpted and they're beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, there's absolutely, yeah, those are they're okay, but yeah, these the miniatures that we have for the Kickstarter are much nicer.
Okay, so these are legitimate miniatures then, not the wooden meeple type silhouette. This is like
right.
it looks like a ship.
it looks like a ship, and I don't know if someone could pop over and grab an image of the miniature ship. You don't have to if it's not possible, but
let me.
Pretty swank.
I'll take care of it. I'll drop it in chat.
Yeah, and then we've got a pledge level where there's actually miniature pirates to go along with that, and instead of the treasure tiles, you'll have treasure coins.
Ooh, so really?
Pretty nice pirate-driven, swag.
Awesome. Okay, so we have our 3 colors out on the board. We can dump one of those, Chris. I'll just take the gray one off.
Oh, sure. Take mine.
Oh, that was yours? Okay.
Oh, I don't care.
Perfect. And then where's purple? Okay. So I guess we will walk through a basic turn here, a basic round. So we'll say that I, as red, I'm starting. So the first thing I do is I have my 10 cards. Do I have access to all 10, or do I draw from my pile?
So you shuffle them and deal yourself 5 to create your hand.
Okay. So I will go ahead and grab 5 cards. And that is my hand. And that one we will just deal. Well, just handle purple, Chris. Do that for me.
I'm sorry. What do you? I was grabbing
5 cards. You take 5 cards, put them out in front of purple, and put 5 cards out in front of green for me, if you don't mind. So as red, I'm looking at my current situation. I could move on one of the tracks with one of my ships. I have all potential movement, 3, 2, and 1. 3 will get me out into waters here. 1, 2, 3 out into waters. Pretty much my beginning turn here is just going to get me out into the open waters, right? Nothing.
And you can actually use all 3 on the same track if you want.
Oh.
Yeah. So the only thing you can't do is break up a card. You can use all 3 on one track. And generally people do that in the beginning so they can get to a merchant ship quickly and start building their deck. And then they start moving on other tracks later. There are cards also in the more advanced decks that will require you to move on certain tracks, or give you bonuses for doing so.
All right. So basically, you're looking at the treasures. You're making sure that like your route is the way you want it to be. I guess I will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but then that's not going to give me access to a port.
Probably want to move on the Havana track so you can snag that first merchant ship.
The first merchant ship. Okay, so that's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6. Does that count? The merchant ship count as a space?
Yep.
Okay, so that means I'm going to have to go
3, 2, 1, and you're good.
3, 1, and a 2, which will give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I end up on the merchant ship, looting the goods from them.
And the extra bonus is that you're going to draw a merchant card off the merchant deck,
and that's down here.
One on the bottom of right, and so you'll add that to your discard pile with these 3 cards.
Okay, so then my discard goes over here, and I add a merchant.
Yep.
Who is a merchant. Sorry,
so that deck right there, yeah, one of them. I don't know which one's your hand and which is your.
Sorry. This is my hand. This is the merchant deck.
There you go. Here. So you pop him off, and you add that merchant to your discard pile.
Perfect. And I did that. So then that is my first turn. Do I draw back cards now, or do I wait until the beginning of my next?
Nope, you draw them back up to 5. So you take
draw back up to 5 now.
Yep, your draw pile and make it 5 again.
There we go. Oh, 5 lubbers. Yuck. Okay, so go ahead, Chris. You're going to pilot purple real quick. So what does purple have from him?
I got an able-bodied seaman, a lubber, a sailing master's mate, and 2 more lubbers. Yeah. So I'll just move these around here real quick to go that way.
So purple has the opportunity to move from any of their ports. Now, Glenn, as the creator, what do you think is purple's best move? As I took advantage of Havana's exit there, what do you think purple's best move is turn 1 here?
Well, let's see. Let's look at the treasure tile. So really, one of the challenges of the game is to see what cubes are available early that you can get, or on a particular track.
Okay, so you have double green on this track.
I was just actually thinking that green and that yellow would easily allow me to get the Bloody Mary's treasure.
There you go. So maybe even though you can't do anything awesome on turn 1, the turns move very quickly in this game.
Of course,
you're really planning, all the way, 2, 3, 4 turns down the road.
Right. Now, in terms of table layout, is this what you would recommend in table layout when people have it on the like out in front of them on the board, or do you think there's a more streamlined or better way to lay this out than what I have here?
No, it looks fine. I mean, basically, when you've got your cards in front of you, you've got your draw deck to the left, your hand in the middle, and your discard pile to the right.
To the right, yeah. Standard Dominion procedure.
Question for you, Glenn. This when I first come out of Grand Granada, there, is that first move out? Does that count as 1?
Yes, that'll be 1.
Yep.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 moves. Can you afford 7 moves?
Well,
I don't think you can.
I can do 3, right? I can play 3 cards, is what I was told?
3 cards.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to play my able-bodied seaman, 1 lubber, and then my epic sailing master's mate to get me all the way up to there.
Okay, so you
I will grab a single green cube next time.
Right.
2.
And
You'll actually get 2. You'll get 2 green cubes next time.
Why do I get 2? Because there's 2 there?
Yeah, yep. So when the game is set up in the beginning, there's little dots next to each of the merchant ships, and you just grab random cubes and place them on those spaces. I love that too. randomization in terms of setup is one of my most favorite mechanics in board gaming, because no game is the same. In terms, you can't go in with like the same mindset and the same strategy because different colors and everything like that. So I love that about this. Okay, so
all right, so then I discard all these and grab 5 new cards.
Nope, you discard the 3 that you played.
Yep.
Oh no! So these stupid lubbers stay in my hand.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. See, that's and again, that's the one difference in this deck building from like your traditional like Dominion, because Dominion you get rid of everything you had in your hand and then draw new ones.
Not in this game. You're
not in this game.
And so I draw back up. So 3 more.
You draw, so you're going to draw 3 additional cards on there. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at green. So now, the other thing we forgot to do, Glenn, and I apologize for this, there were supposed to be advantages. So I had no advantage for going first. What was the advantage that was for the second player, which would have been purple?
So you basically, he gets a random cube. So he starts with a little bit of cargo.
So there you go. So you start with the yellow cargo.
I have the ability to get 2 treasures now. I'm excited. I like
treasure.
The third player is going to get to pick whatever color he wants out of the bag. So he gets an informed decision.
So let's look at those treasures real quick. What is the purple, or what's the green player's best play here? Because obviously some of the initial merchant ships were taken. If I'm going to go for a color, what color do you think it would be my best bet here?
If he's going to go on the St. Augustine track, he's going to get green early, so he probably wants a yellow or maybe a red.
No, those are both mine. They can't have them.
Let's go with the red, since he doesn't really have a chance of getting red anytime soon, I don't think. So let's go with the red.
A yellow, actually, if he's going on.
Yellow? Okay.
Because he's not ever getting a yellow till like almost halfway.
Got it. So we're taking a yellow?
I would take a yellow.
Green. So green's going to go ahead and acquire a yellow cargo. And that's pretty cool. And then that goes all the way up to 6 players. Each one gets a separate specific advantage. A card right off of the port deck, I think, is one.
Yep.
Another one is off the merchant deck. Yes.
Yeah. That's so really the next player would get a merchant card, because those are the weaker ones. And we haven't talked about the port cards yet, but those are the most powerful cards. And
I'm going to be hitting that port in like 2 seconds. So
usually,
no, I'm kidding.
You'll get a choice of one of the 3 that are displayed if you make it to port. And those are the ones that have all the great powers.
What's that?
I was saying that those are the ones that have the really interesting powers. Not all of them, but some of them have some really neat. So this guy is really just giving you a chance to move essentially double if you move if you use that card on a particular track. But if you could cycle through the deck, you'd see like the cook has something much more useful. So,
but that's only that's only a one-time use, is it not?
It is. So the skull and crossbones icon in the upper right indicates that if you use the special power, that card goes out of the game.
Yeah, so you can use him for movement as much as you want, but the second you use him special, then it's quote unquote trashed, meaning it goes back to the game box and is out of the game for the remainder of that game you're playing.
Right.
Awesome. And I like how that's the art there is basically from the Disney. It's like looks like the Treasure Island, the Captain. What was it? Long John Silver, right?
Actually, it's a unique creation from the artist. I don't know from where.
Definitely the inspiration, definitely, because I remember watching the animations of also Treasure Planet. If you ever seen the movie Treasure Planet.
Oh yeah.
Long John Silver definitely has that look to him, and he was the cook on the ship. So.
Oh yeah, you're right. He was. Forgot.
And then you see the Sailor from St. Kitts. So I love that you're doing too. So you're drawing the lore into it, you're drawing the history into it. It makes sense that you'd be able to move more with more agility if you have people who are skilled on that route. So just by having these knowledgeable people, you get extra movement on specific tracks. Love it. Love the theme. All right, here we go. So green's going to take their turn. So looking at green's route, I think the only real way to explore this and go after it is going to be pushing for that green cube. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 8. So I'm going to use my. Oh, do I have like all lubbers here?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yuck. Yuck. So you know what? I'm gonna YOLO this a little bit differently, just because they're all ones. With green, I'm going to move 1 on each track. To just spread the love because everything's kind of garbage my first turn here.
And again, you shouldn't panic too much about that because as you know, the actions happen very quickly, and your second turn will come around in like 10 seconds later. Movements tend to be very, very quick, which is great. Yep. One of my favorite things about the game is there's almost no downtime. You're just constantly, every once in a while you get an AP moment where you're like, you've got a little bit of a decision. Oh, I need to grab this treasure, or I need to go to this port, and which one of these port cards am I going to take? But mostly the turns are extraordinarily quick.
Awesome.
So and I already want to buy this, and I've only played one turn, and to me it makes a lot of sense, and I really like it. And what is it going to take for me to convince you to bring a copy to PAX with you so we can play it?
I will definitely be bringing a copy. We'll have it, and maybe I don't know if you saw, because we haven't talked about it yet. We added what we call the gamer rule to the game.
I saw the advanced where there's pirate tiles.
Right.
That you're adding.
And so, and again, they'll end up being these miniatures if you have the higher pledge level, or, they'll end up being wood pirates, which is one of the stretch goals coming up soon. So you won't be stuck with tiles. You'll actually have some fun pirate meeples and pirate miniatures.
Awesome.
And the way the rule works, and it really adds a layer of strategy to the game without a lot of complexity, is that before the game starts, you will have the opportunity around the table on your turn to place one of your 4 pirates on a town, on a port.
Okay.
And so you'll end up, all the players will place them all, and then you'll end up sailing your ships trying to get to rescue them.
Oh, okay.
If you rescue one of your guys when you cash in for a treasure, you put him on the tile, and now it's worth double. Nice. And what happens is now you've got a plan, when you want your ship to arrive at the particular port so that it has the right cargo, so you can cash in for a big treasure, or a bunch of small ones if you want to put your guys up close. And if you rescue someone else's pirate, you actually capture them, and they're out of the game. So you get a point for every captured pirate. And there's a really fun sense of, now you're not only racing to finish, you're racing to grab the other guy's pirates before they can get at them.
Right, exactly, because that's massive. One point for you is minuscule, but like for them, doubling a treasure, especially a big treasure, that's essentially game right there.
Right, and we did a live play when we launched the game on Tuesday down in Florida with the Dice Tower crew with Tom Bassel and his guys, and we just had a lot of fun with that rule. We were just, really going after the other guy's pirates just for spite. And it actually mattered in the game. Like it ended up being a super close game. The guy who was grabbing his pirates and putting them on 8-point treasures didn't end up winning the game. We thought he was going to just crush us. But balancing that with finishing in the right turn order on multiple tracks and getting treasure tiles, and it ended up being a really... a much more strategic, tactical game just by adding that one aspect to it.
I know we touched on it. Sorry, just real quick. I know we touched on it, but the game is over when the first person finishes or when all ships have...
As soon as any ship gets there. So
wow,
it's sudden death. And
then everybody has just one last round to get their ships... That's it. It's done.
It's done. So when you see someone creeping close to the end, Glenn, you've got to make some hard choices. You're like, I have to get ahead of this guy. I have to grab those last, cargoes. I have to get into a port.
Have you encountered players that were just like YOLO, like race to the end as fast as possible and just trigger the end game and try to like shut it off quick?
Yeah, you can do that, but you'll lose every time.
Okay, got it.
Because of course we try to break the game in our play tests, and that's the most obvious way to. Hey, if you can race ahead and end the game prematurely, if that's possible to win the game that way, then it would not be a very interesting game. The whole game is about balance. It's balancing the opportunities and balancing racing when you're ready to win the game. You don't want to finish until you've got a lot of points.
I like that you put in that because I would deem that the clank principle or the clank mechanic, because basically when you're in clank and doing that dungeon, somebody can grab that treasure and run out as fast as possible, but usually the treasure that's the cheapest is the one nearest the entrance. I like the stress of the race that's going on during this as well, because there's pressure on that. being the player I am, I would probably ignore that most of the time and then lose every time because I'd just be like, oh, here's another port.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. You definitely need to get to port to
Right.
build your deck and get those powers and get those extra movement. But if you do it too much, obviously you fall way behind in the race, and you can have a great deck, but you don't catch up. So it's really
That's great.
watching what the other players are doing, responding, doing getting just ahead of them to snatch the cargoes or get into port. There's a lot of really, it's like not one race game, it's like 40 race games.
Right. And I also, and I like that there's an offer. I like this, that there's a treasure offer, and I like that there's a port offer, because the port offer, strategically, you're like, okay, now I have to hit port, so I grab that card, which will give me extra speed before anybody else grabs it, because I have a plan that I want to get down this blue track faster than anybody else. You know what I mean?
If you cycle through that deck a little bit, you'll see some really juicy cards in there that really are.
Let's take. So Pirate Governor.
Look real quick. This adding those pirates, like, I thought this game had my wife approval on it already, because she has the opportunity to beat me. Any game that she has an opportunity to, like, just wipe the floor with me on any game, she's all for it. She won't play competitive or cooperative games. But you add the pirates in there, add extra, like, insult to injury, and you instantly got the wife approval on this game.
And even it was funny because I think at Gen Con we played this, and it was the wife that ended up winning a couple of the games we played.
Nice.
So that's just a basic card there with a little extra movement.
Yeah. I'm looking, like, I see this one here, the Pirate Governor.
Right. So there are some cards you can see in the upper right, which is a different symbol from the skull and crossbones, and that's a play to table card. So when you get that in your hand, you can either play it, for movement, or play it to the table. Once it's on the table, then its effects come into play.
Okay.
So in this case, this guy you can sacrifice not using the 3, but when you put him down, every turn you're going to get 2 extra spaces when you move any ship on the red track.
Okay, so you're basically, this is almost like, so when he's actively on the table, he stays out on the table.
Yes. In this case, he stays out there. Some of the cards, if you use the power, they go back in the discard, and you have to cycle them back through.
Right.
And this guy's the surgeon, so you get to discard those 2 crappy cards out of your hand and draw 2
new ones. So
right?
you got some card cycle there.
1s or 2s, you can get rid of them.
That's actually and 2, and actually that's a decent movement for the cycle mechanic too, because, like, if you just draw him and you don't need to cycle cards, then you just use the 2. But if you have, like, a bunch of 1s and that 1/2, you're like, hey, you know what? I'll sack this one, draw 2 more, hope for better movement. Loving it.
So this one is the quartermaster, right? So in this case, you're going to draw 2 cubes and you get them, right? So it's a 4 movement. So that's a hard decision, because she'll go trash out of the game once you get the cubes. But there are many times where you're just desperate to get a certain color, so you can get one of those big treasures at the right moment. And again, especially if you're playing with those pirate rescue rule, this is a great card for that.
Oh, this is awesome. And again, the art's beautiful.
So this is like one of those times where I really need that Fry meme where it's like, shut up and take my money.
I think, we have
not really. Don't shut up though. Seriously, I'm enjoying the conversation.
So I think we have a pretty good idea of how the game moves. Do you want to do another round, or do you want to call it? Because here's what we're going to do the rest of this week. Wednesday on my channel, Happy Fun Time Live, another Twitch channel, we're going to do a live gameplay of this. I'm going to have a group of anywhere from 4 to 6 people on my channel, and we're going to play a live game of this on Tabletop Sim. And then Friday, is it Thursday or Friday this week, Matt? Whisper in my ear. Whisper sweet nothing's in my ear.
He's not paying attention.
He's not paying. Okay. Thursday at what time for you guys? Okay. So 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday night. You'll see us play this on Happy Fun Time Live. Thursday at 10 p.m. Back here on Geek Spiel, there'll be a group playing the game on Geek Spiel. So you'll get to see live gameplay of the full playthrough. You get to see us yelling at each other. You get to see us, with the take that mechanics. I'm really hoping if we end up with like 3 or 4 players, I'm hoping on Wednesday to actually play twice, because this game seems to move pretty quickly. and I'm not sure. I can't speak for Matt, but I'm sure that he'll try that. Well, they'll definitely get it in one play of it. But at least you guys have a pretty good idea of how to play the game at this point. The amazing amalgamation of different mechanics that are sort of thrown in here, and I mean, this is probably one of our easiest teaches we've done on Table Crashers. Not gonna lie,
Yeah.
like it's really straightforward.
And the fun of the game, at least to our group, because we have our gaming group is comprised mostly of hardcore strategy and war gamers.
Yes.
But we love this game and Raccoon Tycoon and Railroad Rivals because, they have enough tough competition, right? It's even though the learning the game is simple, there's a lot of tough choices, small decisions, and things that you have to get it right. If you make too many small mistakes, you lose the game. Even though there's a little bit of luck with the cards and whatnot, but it's in all three games, it's all about managing opportunities and making right choices. So it's
Absolutely.
a lighter game, but it's not super lightweight when you're playing it with gamers.
No, and I mean this is definitely there's gateway games and there's actually genre gateway games, and this would be a solid genre gateway game into the mechanics of deck building, into the mechanics of set collection, into the mechanics of not so much territory control, but at least territory awareness for that set collection. And yeah, because this, I mean, you take a game like this, you compare it to like a game like Game of Thrones, which is super heavy and ridiculously long, but this gives you some of the base ideas of how to play a game like that.
Right.
And it's one that I would definitely use at our table if I had an idea of a game and I wanted my friends to be at least well versed enough in the mechanics so that they're not complaining to me when we go to play the game next time, like, oh, you have an advantage, you know how to do games like this, you know what I mean?
Right. And for me, it's we have neighbors and friends that are not hardcore gamers, but
right,
you can talk them into doing a lighter game.
Yep.
And these again are easy to teach, but they're once they start playing, they're like, oh yeah, these mechanics are new and fun, and how come I don't know any games like this?
And the funny thing, Glenn, is that I feel like you could have kitchen sink this, and like the resource, like at the beginning of the game, you could roll dice to see who puts out the resources in what order, and like, you can make that a strategy. And I appreciate that you did some smart cutting here. And
a lot.
Yeah. I'm sure you did. I mean, I could see what this game most likely started out as, and I definitely appreciate what it has molded into for you.
The initial design was actually you could choose from like 5 different things to do on your turn.
Yep.
That's where we started, right?
Yep.
And now basically you're just deciding where to move and which cards to play, and it's
right.
It's really intentionally streamlined.
Did you start with the action points, like an action point system?
Not action points per se. It was one action on your turn.
Okay.
And it works great, but it had balance issues.
It was
right?
clunky. Yeah.
It was clunky and also needlessly complex, right?
Right.
This basically all decisions are, it's where am I moving, right? And the really only question is, why am I doing it? Am I trying to build my deck? Am I trying to grab treasures? Am I trying to get to this particular thing before this guy? Am I trying to finish ahead of the other guy, get ahead of him? They're very simple decisions, and you're always moving, right? You're always doing movement. It's just which direction am I going? Am I going off the track? Am I going further down the track? And which one of these 3 tracks am I moving on, and why? It's super dead simple, but very tense, and you're always watching the other guys and what they're doing and trying to to deal with.
And I think that's a staple. That's a staple of a game like this, that fills the casual and gaps the casual gamer and the hardcore gamer, because that constant movement, constant action, there's no downtime.
Right.
It's important. I mean, that's an important factor in a game like this. But yeah, so I think we'll call for this evening. Glenn, I really, really appreciate you coming out and being a guest on the show with us. Your stories and your life experience, just awesome. Like you said, right place, right time. You won the lottery with some of that, but it seems that you utilized it to the best capability you could. which you didn't waste it. So that's the takeaway from so if we don't see you later in the week, you're welcome to join us, even if it's just in chat for Wednesday and Thursday night. But you're not required to do so. You guys have all seen that the raffle is going on for a pledge level for this game. That's going to run all week, and at the end of the week, we'll announce the winner for that. And essentially, thanks everybody who came out to watch. One more time, thanks Glenn, Chris. Thanks, and I'm sorry I forgot you were here.
Glenn, it was a pleasure talking with you, and I can't wait to meet you at PAX.
Absolutely, looking forward to meeting you guys, and thanks for having me.
It's no problem. So with that, it's been another great episode and awesome time with Table Crashers. We'll catch you guys Wednesday and Thursday night. Have a good one.
Night.